Hey, good evening, guys. Welcome to Stretch. It is that time of the week where we do our half-hour stretching session. So we're going to do a nice full body lengthening from top to bottom. Just going to let a few people jump on. Hi there, welcome to Stretch. So anyone who hasn't worked with me before, my name is Leah and I'm the senior trainer here at 10 Health and Fitness. You can catch me on here, over on the live stream, and in some of our studios as well. Hi Julie, hi guys, welcome. So just saying, we're going to be doing a full body stretch today. You're not going to need any equipment, just yourself and your mat, something soft to lie on. Good, okay. If you have any questions, guys, please do pop them in the chat. I will try and get to them sporadically between the mat and here. And then of course you can always message me if there's anything else you need help with. I will save this to IGTV, so that will be on there. You can go back and do it any other day of the week, or if you can't catch it now. And of course, if you have any medical issues, any injuries, please do just make sure, as always, you follow the advice of your medical professionals. Shall we get moving, guys? So we're going to come over to our mat, and we're going to start just standing, feet hip distance apart, nice and parallel, slightly soften through the knees. And we're going to start to move through our shoulders. So we're going to bring the arms just out in front of us. Fingertips pointed forwards and just slightly wider than my chest distance, just to allow my shoulders to stay nice and relaxed. I'm going to start to open my hands and then back in, just that for the moment. And as you're doing that, stopping at that same point, as you're doing that, I want you to just feel your shoulder blades starting to draw together in the upper back and the chest muscles starting to open and lengthen. I'm keeping a softness through the elbows, so there's no tension up towards the neck here. Just relax, nice gentle movement to start with. And I'm starting to go that little bit further. So as the arms start to go behind me to get a little bit more chest stretch, just being careful that that movement is coming from the shoulders rather than just popping my ribs out. So I'm keeping the ribs just stacked on top of the pelvis. And let's start to think about our breathing. Our breathing can really help us when we're stretching, especially when we start to go into some of those deeper stretches. So for this one, what I want you to do is you breathe out. We're going to breathe out through the mouth and open the arms. Draw the belly button gently in. Start to feel a bit of abdominal engagement. Good, as if you're giving your spine a hug with your tummy muscles, thinking of those corset abdominals. Now when you come in, we're going to breathe in through the nose and you're going to fill up the bottom of the lungs so that you're feeling the sides and back of the rib cage expand before it then deflates and empties those lungs completely. Go throughout the day, especially if you're rushing around, high-paced, stressful occupation, a lot of the time we start to breathe up here, up into our chest, and that creates a vicious circle of physical and mental tension. So to get us through those deeper stretches and to unwind this evening, really starting to think about that breathing. One more like that. And then when you come back to center, we're going to raise gently above the head. Now making sure that I'm not doing anything crazy up here with my shoulders and just raising my arms. And then back through that chest stretch. All the way down by my hips and up again. Through that position we started with, soft elbows, soft shoulders. Good, just drawing those circles with the arms. So one more like that. Careful, we're still not popping the ribs out, not moving from the back or rib cage here, just the arms and shoulders. And then when we finish that one, we're going to rest the arms just by the sides, let them go, release them. Give those shoulders now just on their own, a nice little roll all the way, back and down. Gently just finding that full range of movement. Lovely. Let the arms rest and release by the sides. You're just going to start to lower your chin to your chest. And then back up. Slightly raising them, just looking to where the wall meets the ceiling. And then back down to the floor. And repeat. I'm going to do a couple more there. Starting to get that neck moving. If you've been in static or compromised positions today, coming back to the middle now. We're going to take this into a full roll down. So I want you to just move to the side of your mat. And the feet in the same position. So have a rock for me from side to side. Make sure you're not putting more weight on one side than the other. Once you've found that centre, soften the knees and drop the head again. So softly lowering the chin to the chest, just as we did a moment ago. Now this time, we're going to keep heeling our spine over. So I want you to imagine each vertebra of your spine was a pearl on a string. And in sequence, one pearl at a time, it's going to fold over towards the floor. Have a little look at your feet. Make sure your arches aren't collapsing, your ankles aren't rolling in. We want to try and keep our pelvis on top of our ankles rather than sticking the bum out behind us. At the bottom, take a nice deep breath in. When you breathe out, I want you to pick your tummy up off your thighs, draw your belly button in, scoop up your pelvic floor. Just engaging those deep core muscles to help give us the control we need to get that sequential movement through the spine, to get each vertebra moving independently rather than in big blocks. We're going to do 2 more like that. Breathe in, grow, fill the bottom of the lungs. Breathing out as we empty, we're rolling down, we're supporting our lower back as we roll through the mid and upper back. Supporting with those tummy muscles, thinking corset tightening. Still trying not to stick our bum out behind us, and we've still got to soften us through the knee joints so we're not sitting in those ligaments. We are, of course, getting that lovely lengthening through the back of the legs here at the same time as moving that spine through flexion. Now the next one you do, guys, still with that lovely inhale, grow, prepare. Exhale, scoop and roll. On this one, we're going to stay at the bottom. And we're just going to hang out here at the end of your range, so hanging from the hips. Just give the shoulders a little shake, give the heads a little shake. Make sure everything is let go and released over, just at your range. I'm going to place my hands on the floor. You can either place them down on the floor on the mat or onto your legs. I don't mind, whichever is better for you. And I'm just going to have a little walk around towards the front. Walking with those hands. I'm going to try and keep my hips square, so I'm not twisting my whole body. Let the head go. Breathe here. Just nice deep breathing into the back. Feeling the back expanding and deflating with your breath. And then I'm going to walk the hands all the way around to the other side now. So I'm walking the hands all the way to the other side of my foot. Still slightly softened in those knee joints so they're not locked out. Nice deep breaths and let the head go. Remember, if you're holding your leg here, that's fine as well. And then we're going to come back to the center. Now, all of us are going to have the hands on the mat. You just might need to bend the knees. And we're going to start to walk the hands away, slightly wider than shoulder distance. I'm going to curve my back into a cat stretch. You might need to have your heels a little lifted, but I want you to think of keeping them pressed into the floor today. Keep your arches lifted, so we're not rolling our ankles in. We can feel our little toe joints in the mat. And I'm imagining that someone has got a piece of string on my middle vertebra, the middle of my spine, and they're pulling it up to the ceiling. I'm just looking between my knees and just breathing into the back. Now on the next out breath, I'm going to start to release the spine down towards the floor, raise my eye line, not quite to my hands, just more towards that direction, towards where your hands are. So there's no forcing of the chin up, neck is comfortable. And in this position, we're pushing the sit bones up towards the sky. And then we repeat that first position. We're going to keep it moving now. So as I come into that cat position of my back, I'm tucking my tail between my legs, looking between my thighs, breath into the back, so pull the back up to the ceiling. And then as I breathe out, I'm going to push the sit bones up to the ceiling, release the chest down and gently raise the eye line towards the hands. And repeat. We're going to breathe out to move. Breathe in at end range. Breathing out to move. Breathe in at end range. If this is too much, guys, what you could do is have a stool or a table or chair and just do the same thing here with the hands a little higher. So you can do your cat and then your cow in this position. Obviously with varying heights, just depending on your range. We're going to do this for about another 20 seconds. Everyone all okay? Sorry, press something. Okay, last 10 seconds of these. One more. And then I'm going to start to lower my knees now down onto the mat. If you are using a prop under the hands, move it away now. Bring those knees down. Hands just under shoulders. Now I've still got my toes tucked at the moment. I'm just going to take a moment here to make sure the ankles are straight and then just push a bit of weight into my toes to press out through the heels. So feeling a stretch through the feet and a little bit into the Achilles as well, where the ankle comes up to the calf. Just breathing here. Static stretch for a moment, just creating that bit of length, that stretch under the feet. You can get really tensed up, especially if you're wearing uncomfortable shoes during the day, and that has an effect on the whole body. It's important to think about all of the muscles, of which there are a lot in our feet. And I'm going to start to release now back into my hands and flatten the feet to just send the bum back to the heels into a little shell stretch. You can soften the elbows down into the floor, or you can reach the arms all the way away, whichever feels better for you. Reset that breathing for me. As you inhale, feel the ribcage expand. As you exhale, feel the tailbone sink towards the heels. Feel that space between each of the vertebrae in your lower back. Good, now from here, I'm going to walk my hands away, walk my knees away from them as well until I can lower down securely onto the tummy, into a prone position. We're going to do a little bit of extension. So we're going to have the hands weighted forwards with a loose W shape, and I want this to be comfortable, so you're not so close to your body that your shoulders are tensed up, but equally I don't want you to be reaching away because we're going to press ourselves a little way up. So I want you to have your nose just hovering on that mat, and I want you to slightly start to think about engaging through your glutes. So you're going to squeeze your bum and keep your pubic bone pressed into the mat. Now if that's uncomfortable, you can always have a cushion underneath the pelvis. Keep squeezing those glutes, and you're going to start to draw your shoulder blades together and down towards your tailbone. Keep drawing those shoulder blades together and down. You're going to raise the chest bone just off of the mat. Keep squeezing your bum for me. And then slowly come down. Now as you do this, you're going to breathe in. So you're going to breathe in as you raise your chest and draw your shoulder blades together to your tailbone. Breathe out, come down. Okay, so if you're someone, keep that going in your own time. If you're someone that is spending a lot of time in these positions where we're rounded over in the upper back in this kind of slouch position, whether it's at a desk, whether it's holding a baby, whether it's driving a car, on your phone, all of those things that a lot of us are doing throughout the day pull us into this position here where we've got these rounded shoulders, and then these muscles can get really achy when they're being pulled. They've got that stretch weakness, and these muscles here are then getting quite short and immobile when we create those muscle imbalances. So what we're doing here is we're starting to think about widening the collarbone, opening that chest out, stretching those pectoral muscles, while at the same time contracting these muscles through the upper back to strengthen that space between the shoulder blades. Keep that pulled together, rhomboids, traps those muscles there, and also get that bit of extension. So our extension here is that raise of the chest, taking the upper back into this position, which is of course the counter of this hunch over that we might have been doing throughout the day. Now if you want to stick with that one, That's absolutely fine. If you're comfortable to come into a bit more of a full spinal extension, what we can do here, come through the exact same movement, so drawing those shoulder blades down to the tailbone, raise the chest. Quick note though guys, make sure that you're not forcing your chin up. Think of your mat as a mirror. You're always looking at yourself in the mirror. Your next step here, if you'd like to, you can start to press the heels of the hands into the mat. Squeeze those glutes for me. Keep the abs engaged and keep drawing the shoulder blades down towards the back. We want that nice wide smiling collarbone. And then slowly lower down. This needs to be controlled. Keep your ribs knitted underneath you. So the front of the rib cage is still together. It's not flaring apart. We're controlling the body as we do this. We're not forcing it into any forced ranges of extension. If it feels a bit much, guys, just do the first part of that movement that we were doing before. Make sure your shoulders are never coming up by your ears. There shouldn't be any tension in your neck. Now the next one we do, we're going to hold it for a little bit longer if you can. So maybe in this one here, or maybe you want to press all the way into that extension. Thinking about the control. So we still want length through the spine. It's not so much about the height and more about the length. So it's better to be in a lower position with space between all of your vertebrae, your shoulder blades in the right place, your nice open chest, than it is to force everything back, crunch all your vertebrae together, lock out your joints and sit in those ligaments. We want to be controlled all the way from the hand, all the way up into the elbow, the wrist, the shoulders, through the rib cage and through the spine. 3 more breaths here, just focusing on that inhale and exhale for me. And that length through the abdominals, stretching through the front of the tummy here. Especially if you've been doing those hundreds in our mat work classes this week. And now slowly coming down with control, all the way. And we're going to bring our hands to our chest, press to our knees. And once we're in a nice 4-point position with hands under shoulders, we're just going to come to our cat stretch like we did when we were standing on our feet. Tucking the tail, dropping the head to look between the thighs, pulling the middle of the spine up to the ceiling. Stay there for me. And just breathe into your back and stretch that mid-back. Increase the stretch with your breath. And then slowly release the bum back down onto the heels. Roll the head up last. And give the shoulders a little roll out. Very nice, guys. Have a second if you need it. And then we're going to come down into our needle threads. So the hands are going to go out in front once more. Okay, perfect. So I'm keeping my weight a little bit further back because I've only got one hand supported. And I'm going to take the other hand, palm up to the ceiling, and slide it along the floor. Now as I'm doing that, bend into the elbow and start to get a bit of rotation of the body, looking up to the ceiling. When we come back to center, we're going to do the same thing on the second side. Sliding the arm underneath, palm up to the ceiling, rotate the body to look underneath your armpit, up to the sky, and then back to center. We're just going to do a few of here to get a little bit of a stretch now in that upper back. So we've stretched the chest, thought about the postural positioning of those shoulder blades. Now we're going to give those aching muscles in the upper back a little bit of a stretch. The next one you do, we're going to hold it there a little bit longer, breathing into that space. See if you can ease a little bit more depth in that stretch. Make sure your shoulder's not tensed here. Keep reaching. 2 more breaths. And then back to center. Last one now for the second side. Palm up, reaching through. Good. Turning the body to look under that armpit. And breathing here. Two more in. And then coming back to the middle. Now we're going to work on stretching through our hips next. So you might need, if your knees are a bit sensitive, just a cushion or to roll up your mat and just pop it underneath your supporting knee. If you know they're a bit sensitive or your floor is hard. We're going to step the right foot forwards so that the right foot is forwards in line with its hip. Make sure it's not out to the side or crossed over. Both just in line with their hips. So we're going to send the body up tall, reaching out through the crown of the head to the ceiling. Tuck our tail between our legs, squeeze on that back glute. So we've really got this tail tucked, pelvis underneath us, so that we're not arching our back in that banana shape at any point in this stretch. Keep that glute under. What we want is the extension here in that hip, rather than just in the back. So your next step from here, we're going to start to pull that knee forwards, keeping our tail between our legs, keeping our squeeze on that back glute, and hips nice and square until we can feel a stretch here into those hip flexors, that psoas. Breathe into it, and then breathe out and just push off back to where you started, vertical shin. And then we repeat in your own time. Make sure you take your inhale at end range, and just always being careful that you haven't lost this posterior pelvic tilt. So we're never sticking our bum out or sticking our ribs out. Keeping everything stacked and underneath here. Now you may find, if you've got a little bit more range, as long as you're not getting that banana back, you can take the foot a little bit further and get a little bit deeper. The body might start to want to twist as you increase the range, so try not to let that happen. Keep both hip bones pointed straight forwards as we move in and out of this stretch. Good. If you are finding that it's hurting the knee, guys, remember we can just roll up that mat, or you can pop a cushion underneath, just so you've got a little bit more padding here to support underneath. Good, and the next one we do, we're going to come into that stretch, big glute squeeze, everything held, pressing forwards from the knee, aligned here, making sure it's not rolling in or out. And then the left arm, so opposite one to the one that's forwards, is going to reach up and over into a side bend. You could hold on if you needed to for stability. Keep squeezing that glute, keep the ribs knitted, knees pressing forwards. With that back leg, you almost want to imagine it's trying to pull forwards towards the front foot. Breathing here, nice deep breaths, inflating and deflating for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then back to center, lovely. So we can do that on the second side, of course. So you're popping the hands down to swap feet, making sure the knee that goes down sets up underneath its hip, and the leg that goes forwards sets up in front of its hip. And you can hold on if you need the stability. We're going to start with the arms relaxed by the sides, square up those hips, tuck that tail underneath. So no bums sticking out before we start. Keep squeezing through that back right glute. And then pushing forwards into that stretch. Small range to start with. Breathing in. Breathing out to press back off. We're trying not to let the hips twist open. Keeping them facing forwards. Keeping that knee aligned. Always taking a nice deep inhale at end range. And you can walk the foot a little further away if needed. Not too far. Should be feeling that through the front of the back hips, in this case the right hip. So these are the muscles that obviously spend a lot of time folded. So when you're sitting down, these muscles here are getting shortened right up. Now if you're spending long periods of time in that position, and especially if you're not in your normal desk chair, if you're working from home in a slightly compromised position with maybe an increased angle there, that of course is going to cause similar problems to that upper body posture that we were talking about earlier. So as we come into this, we're activating the glutes, turning them on a little bit. They've been inhibited if we've been sitting all day. And we're taking the time now to lengthen through the front of that hip. Find that space. Balancing out the muscles around the hip. So it's less prone to injury, but also, so if you're then going to go and do a run or a HIIT class, anything where we're going to move through those ranges of the hips, or even just going for a walk. You're now better prepared to do that without being at risk of injury. And the next one you do, we're going to hold it there. So squeeze on the glute, keep tucking the tail. Think about that positioning of the spine and rib cage. Right arm, so opposite arm to the leg that is forwards, is going to reach up and over into that side bend. Good, keep that squeeze, keep those hips square. Nice deep breathing here. Inflating and deflating. Just for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming off, very nice, guys, well done. Popping the hands down. If you've rolled your mat up, roll it back away. And we're going to take the legs now out in front of us. I'm going to have a little spine stretch forwards, really getting into the calves and the hamstrings. Now, if your hamstrings aren't that long, and you want to have a block or a couple of rolled up towels underneath the bum to lift the hips a little higher, you can do that. If it's still a little bit much, you can have bent knees here. If you've got a nice range, what I want you to do is pull the toes up towards the ceiling and press out through the heels. We want to be able to sit right up on our sit bones. So if you're finding that you're back here, maybe that's when we want to pop a block or a bit of height underneath the bum to prop us up. Crown of the head now growing towards the ceiling as you inhale. I'm going to take the arms out a bit wider than my legs. I want you to think about keeping that wide collarbone we've been talking about and that softness through the elbows and shoulders. So no tension here. We're going to breathe in, grow tall. As you breathe out, I want you to draw your tummy in away from your thighs and start to curve your spine over as if you were curving over a big beach ball on your lap. What I'm not doing though is coming backwards with my weight. So we're right on the top of the sit bones, curving forwards over our ball. And then we restack the spinal column from bottom to top. Head is the last thing to stack on top. Check now that your shoulders aren't up here. We've still got that softness. And then repeat. We breathe out to curve over. And we breathe in when we get there. Filling up the back and then breathing out to come back in again. Now we do need a bit of abdominal engagement to make sure that we don't just slump back onto our coccyx towards our tailbone. We do want to be right up on those bony bits of the bum. Just going to do a couple more here. And then we're going to reach a little bit deeper and hold. This next one, when you get to the top, stay there for me. Breathe in, grow. Now I want you to try and keep a flat back. It won't be very far, but see how long you can keep it. In that flat back, hinging forwards from the hips here. Reaching with the fingertips, long through the back of the neck. And when you've gone as far as you can without dropping into that lower back, I want you to start to keep reaching through the fingertips, but start to curve the upper body over. Like we did over that wall. Letting the head now start to hang between the legs, still reaching towards the ankles. When you've gone as far as you can, I want you to soften your hands into the floor. It might be here, that's okay. Wherever you are, soften the hands, soften the elbows, release the shoulders and let everything go. Drop your head so we're not holding any tension in the neck. Drop it, let it go. Give the head a bit of a shake. Let those elbows sink. Staying here for another 20 seconds. Breathing into the back. Option if you want to, as long as the shoulders stay relaxed, to hold to the arches of the feet, but we've still got to keep the elbows soft and the shoulders away from the ears. Make sure that it's not forcing you into a bent knee if you are holding the feet. Draw those toes towards you. Last 5, 4, 3, 2. Good. From here, reaching forwards. We're going to reverse that movement. Reaching forwards to find that long spine. And then re-stack it back on top. Good. Release the hands. Give the shoulders a little roll. Draw the shoulders all the way. And then just drop the ear to one shoulder without lifting the opposite one up. And we're going to take just a roll in a semicircle. Heavy head. Over to the other side. One more each way. And then back to the middle. And give yourselves a clap, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're feeling a little bit looser. Let me know if there's any questions or anything I can help with. Otherwise, have a lovely evening and I'll see you next week. This will go on the IGTV, so you can find me there. Or you can send me a message at the Pilates Perspective. Alrighty, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.